Will do. Thanks very much, Robert, and everybody. And yes, welcome to Waterford. We're delighted to be presenting from here this morning. I'm here with colleagues. We're going to be joined by more colleagues later on for our workshop. So, as Robert said, we're going to present here today on Pillar 3, which is the digital education and training pillar. If we go back, maybe Robert, just one step, please. Yeah, Robin. I'm the co-chair with Joe Harrington, Dr. Joe Harrington, based at NTU in Cork. We also are delighted to have two industry advocates, Siobhan Bradley, Dr. Siobhan Bradley from Regional Skills Southwest, and Martin Lydon of the LMC Group. So a lot of people have emphasised already the importance of industry involvement, and we're delighted we have some strong people, and indeed others indeed in Pillar 3 group, to help us along the way with the deliverables for this particular pillar. So we move to the next slide, please. Yes. PJ referred earlier, and indeed Pat and others, to the whole intention from a government level right down to the various individual parts. So we're very conscious of not only working away within the Build Digital world, but also aligning our activities with the other activities going on across the country in terms of innovation and digital adoption. We're very much interested, obviously, and anxious to push on with the digital transformation, and very ambitious with the speed. But we also want to make sure it's coordinated. So we're very conscious as we move forward over the next 5 years that everything we do is done in a coordinated fashion. And obviously the context to digital education and training, it was identified from a long way out that it's core to everything we do really in transforming our industry. But how we do that and how we do that in a coordinated way is really important. And in terms of motivation, really, I know we talk a lot about digital construction and the technologies, but people, again, remain at the heart of everything. We have to bring our workforce with us, the current workforce, but also be very conscious of the emerging and new workforce that hopefully will join us in the future years. So we in Pillar 3 are very anxious to do everything to deal with that wide spectrum of people, both the current group of people across all the design, construction, maintenance, and various aspects of our sector, and indeed the emerging students, that we need to attract more people to the industry. And PJ referred earlier to the more females and so on in the industry. So definitely we have a job of work to do, and education and training is very much part of that journey. So our vision is very simply, simple to say, but maybe more difficult to achieve, to deliver a more capable, digitally enabled and better skilled workforce across all roles, from operative to managerial and professional. So obviously in our sector, construction sector, it's such a broad span of companies and people, but we have to be conscious of all of those and how we educate and train those people, those individuals, in order to become more digitally enabled and capable. And ultimately, we want to get to greater efficiency. Sustainability obviously is at the heart of everything we do. And again, that will be talked about later on, but we're very conscious of that as well. And indeed productivity in delivering and maintaining construction output. So to do all of that, you do need good people that are actually capable and digitally enabled. And ultimately that will hopefully lead to competitive advantage both at home and abroad. A lot of our companies are not only working in Ireland, but obviously across Europe and further afield. So it's very important in that context to have good people that have the right skill sets and are capable in the digital world. So in terms of our pillars, each pillar has a number of deliverables. We have 5 broad pillar deliverables, and we baseline them in year 1, and we intend to develop them over years 2, 3, 4, and 5. The first is the education and training inventory. In order to understand where we want to get to, we have to first of all find out where we are. And so we've done a huge effort over the last say 6 months to develop an education and training inventory of what's happening across the country. And I'll talk more about that on the next slide. Ted and Barry and others referred to the annual survey. Again, that's just been completed, and it's great to see the responses. We're hoping to analyse the relevant questions that relate to education and training in the coming weeks, and use that information to develop our strategy and plans for the next months and years, indeed, for the rest of the project. The digital education training and network idea is to establish that, so we identify best practice and perhaps develop best practice in order for our programs. We're upskilling our current workforce, but also developing the new workforce that's coming, and ultimately then developing maybe bespoke or particular modules or module development or courses that are not there at the moment. It may well evolve that in our survey and our discussions with industry that there are some gaps and we may need to develop new training, or perhaps even deliver them in a different way to suit industry. So these are all part of our deliverables, not only this year, but in a baseline way, but also in years 2 to 5. So just to give you a little flavor of this inventory and the scale of it, we currently have over 700 line items on this inventory, and we hope to publish it by the end of this year and make it searchable. But really, if you actually look at the landscape across Ireland at the moment, you have universities, you have the skill nets, you have professional bodies, we have the education and training boards. So we have many different people and organizations delivering what we would call relevant programs in digital education and training for the construction sector. So our job is to try and capture all of that existing activity and try and show to anybody who needs to see it through our construction hub in the near future. So you'll be able to search this database effectively to find out what type of courses are out there that might suit you or your company. And again, the range in duration from quite short, maybe a number of days, right up to obviously degree programs. And they range in level on the national framework from level 5 right up to level 9 or even 10. So you can see the breadth and depth of what we're trying to do here with this inventory. It's never been done before. It'll be very useful, deliverable for Build Digital, but it's also something that we need to keep alive, because obviously we'll create the baseline this year, but we need to constantly update it. And that's a challenge for the project as we go forward in years 2, 3, 4, and 5. But again, it just shows you there's a lot out there at the moment, and we've come to the conclusion there is a lot out there across all the different providers, but maybe we can bring more coherence to it. And when we have a chance to analyze all the programs in detail, we might identify some gaps also and see where we can address those in the coming years in parallel with the activities of the other pillars on the Build Digital project. So next steps, we're going to drive on with the inventory. Again, we will try and make it available as soon as possible through the hub to industry and anybody who needs to use it. The annual survey, we've contributed to the questions, and we'll analyze those questions, the answers and responses in more detail in the coming weeks. And that will really inform us. But we'll back up the survey with our own workshop. We have a workshop here today, and indeed our pillar group with industry personnel will be able to guide us hopefully on addressing the various gaps and aspects of education and training for a better digitally enabled workforce. We'll constantly look at a lot of the other pillars referred to, looking globally as well as locally. We are conscious through the Education and Training Network to not only study what's going on in Ireland, but to be aware of what's happening across the world and best practice that might be existing out there in different regions. And we try and bring that information back to the project, and that might influence the way, not only what programs we deliver, what courses, but also how we do it. Obviously post-COVID and using technology itself, a lot of the programs in the future could either be online or blended. They don't necessarily mean people leaving the workforce, but there are different solutions for different communities, and we need to be aware of the best practices that exist. And then, as I said, we'll develop new modules and new programs. Some of those actually might be standard or might come with some accreditation at national level. The standards pillar that Barry mentioned earlier, we are conscious of maybe getting everybody attuned or aligned to certain standards. So that might have influence on our digital education and training suite of programs. So that's just a very quick overview of our pillar. As I said, digital education training and people are so important to our industry. So we're very conscious of actually continuing to our work in the course of the Build Digital project over the 5 years. But not only working in isolation, we'll be working very closely with Robert and the other 4 pillars to make sure that our digital education and training activities are aligned. So back to you, Robert.